Hi, everybody. I'm Brendan Murphy,
And I'm Fletcher Williams.
and welcome back to A Few Good Movies coverage of WandaVision. And we know we missed you on episode 5. We're going to do a little talk about that before we get into all the stuff that happened this week on episode 6. But we just wanted to go ahead and do a little recap on 5. So, Fletch, thoughts on episode 5? A lot of good stuff happening. We got a surprise return of a character in a very unexpected, strange way. That was really fun.
Uh-huh.
Um, if you don't want to be spoiled for the show, we're going to go into some super mega spoiler territory. So you might want to sign off. Just go ahead and watch those 2 episodes. So Fletch, what did you think of episode 5?
All right, so since I've actually had like a week to like ruminate on this and like the show as a whole, I think um, I actually do think that episode 5 is the best one of the show right now, and even after seeing the new one from this week, I still think that because it kind of like I feel like this show has a lot of different ideas and like dynamics and all that stuff, but like on their own, they don't quite work as well. That's why I've just like enjoyed some of these episodes and not really loved one up until now.
Mm-hmm.
But episode 5 is where everything, all the ideas and concepts really come together for me in a satisfying way. Because, we had episode 4, which we talked about on here. Like, I didn't really like that one just because going outside of the whole sitcom thing, it just felt like it lacked so much style, and like the way they were telling the story was so bland, and like it was just like a big exposition dump. And then in this one, we have the sitcom thing going on, but we also have it like goes back and forth between what's going on in the real world and then in the sitcom.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was really cool the way they pieced the story together. How you have Jimmy Woo and Darcy and all them
Mm-hmm.
watching what's going on in the sitcom and like trying to figure out what's going on, and then you also go back to like inside that world and you see what's
Mm-hmm.
going on with Vision and Wanda, and it was just like I felt like the story was pieced together in a much more interesting way than in the past. So
Yeah.
as of right now, this is like the only episode that I've really loved, and I actually did really like the next one, but we'll talk about that one in a second.
Yeah.
But just like seeing how Vision is starting to figure out what's going on, and he's not really happy about it, and he clearly like wants Wanda to spill,
Mm-hmm.
like he thinks she's in control of everything, and so
Mm-hmm.
that's really interesting. And particularly, I love that moment, like towards the end of the episode, I think, where Wanda like was getting mad that Vision was questioning her, and then she
Mm-hmm.
like had the credits roll like while they were arguing, and
Yeah.
then Vision like interrupted her. And there was that really cool shot of them both like in the air when they were like fighting, and
Yeah.
I thought that was really neat. But yeah, just there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on with Wanda and how she's clearly doing something wrong, and it's almost like she's the villain of this show in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vision is trying to piece together what's really going on. So like there's just this great mystery element that kind
Mm-hmm.
of comes back in this episode, and I just really like the dynamics that they're doing with the characters.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree. I mean, we put down our thoughts on episode 4. We weren't a huge fan because I got away from like what I think what makes the show special and what makes the idea interesting, which is the relationship between Wanda and Vision, especially considering the fact that this whole thing is so that Wanda can live out this fantasy of having this like, um, keeping up with the Joneses life with Vision, where they have a house, they have 2 kids, they have their neighbors that they like hang out with, they have their dog and like all that stuff, and like the crazy uncle comes around every once in a while, and like it felt like we actually got to the root of like what's going on in this relationship right now, because Vision, I don't know how much of his memory he has intact, but obviously like he doesn't know he's an Avenger. We learned in episode 6 that he doesn't know anything really about what's going on in the outside world, about their past as like these superheroes, at least from what we've seen.
Also, in episode 5 when they're fighting, there's a line that Vision says where he can't remember his life before Westview. So I don't think he remembers anything
Yeah.
before Wanda put him in that town.
Mm-hmm. So it's like very interesting to see him like come to the realization that like maybe his wife is the bad guy, or like, and I don't know. It's just that, like, that's the stuff that's interesting to me. And when the show gets away from that, that's when like it's not gelling for me. Like I think 6 is going in a better direction because it's like you have Evan Peters now as Quicksilver. Like he's the big surprise, like at the end of 5, which was really fun and really interesting.
Yeah.
Poor Aaron Taylor Johnson just getting kicked to the curb like yesterday's trash. I don't know. How do you feel about the Evan Peters thing?
I feel like I need to finish the show before I like have like a definitive thought on the whole Evan Peters thing, just because like I don't know if they're just doing that as like a cameo or if that now means some of the X-Men Fox universe stuff is going to be moved over into canon, or like there's a lot of different theories surrounding that, and I feel like we don't have the full picture yet of what they're doing with him. But I mean, it was great to see him. Like I love Evan Peters and his portrayal of Quicksilver. But yeah, so I don't really know. I mean, I liked seeing him, so there's that. But I feel like we're gonna have to see what they do specifically, like with the Fox X-Men stuff in the future, and maybe we'll get more on that like in this show. But I feel like it's gonna be a while before we like know what they're doing with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's also that thing where obviously we've been following this for like over a decade now. Kevin Feige is usually pretty smart about if he's gonna make a decision like that or like bring something like that into his movies or shows or whatever. There's a reason for it. Because like I don't think they would bring in the X-Men timeline in particular and like knowing like how fucked up that whole timeline is and how like crazy like all the stuff that's interconnected with that franchise and like bring that into the Marvel Cinematic Universe without really a plan to like kind of just like make it cohesive in some way. So I'm interested to see what they do. It's just that's the thing that like kind of makes me question the show a little bit, because when we first started out, and I know we talked about this a little bit when episode 4 happened, but like the show seemed like its own thing. It had its own vibe, and I was really excited about that. But now it seems like it's doing that thing where it's just like, no, it's actually, once again, we're going back to the bigger universe. Because now it seems like, I see people thinking about how like, oh, does this mean they're setting up like Multiverse of Madness? And like, this is like, Wanda might actually be the villain in Multiverse of Madness and Doctor Strange has to stop her or something like that. And it was just like, I don't know how I feel about that.
I haven't thought of that before, but I kind of like that idea.
It's interesting. So like, I don't know. I'm still kind of in the same place I've been since about episode 3, where I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about the show. I wish I see so many people like reacting to it and having such a great time and like loving it. Like, I watched the episode and I went on Twitter and everyone's freaking out like, oh my God, like you got to watch it now. Make sure no one spoils, like get off Twitter right now. And I'm just like, I wish I had that same kind of excitement for it that everyone else seems to have.
Yeah, I haven't really had that either, but it seems like everybody else is like screaming about the show every week.
Yeah, like, and there's some like interesting things, like the Evan Peters moment like genuinely surprised me. I was like, oh, that's cool. That's an interesting thing, but it still wasn't like, I don't know. It seems like everyone's having like these like, oh my God, WandaVision like experiences with it. I'm just like, I don't see it. And I'm trying my best to see it. I wish I could get more into it. I really do want to be invested in. I like we talked about in our first thing, like we were excited about this idea. We were excited about this new direction. And I just feel like it's not paying out in necessarily the way that I wanted or expected it to, which maybe that's on me. But it's just, I want to be part of the fun too, Fletch. Why can't I be part of the fun too?
Well, I mean, to that point, I think, like halfway through the first season of Mandalorian, I genuinely was like, this show kind of sucks. Like I just didn't like it that much. I didn't really know what they were going for and stuff. But then once it was over, I like loved it and I was totally on board for the next season. And I kind of look back on some of those first episodes that I didn't really like and I didn't really know where it was going, and I liked them a lot more. So I still feel like we got to wait until the end of the show to really like come up with a definitive opinion on it. But
for sure,
I do get that though. It's not like the show's not blowing me away. The only one that I've like really loved out of all these was episode 5, but that's only one episode. So
yeah, see, for me, it's still my favorite episodes are still probably like the first two because I really like the energy those first two had.
Mhm.
5 still kind of has that thing where it's switching back and forth between like the TV reality and outside reality, and it just doesn't seem like it's really I don't know. And there's the moment in 5 when like Vision starts questioning Wanda, and I really like that. Like that's probably like if I'm picking a moment from the show, like that like little fight they're having at the end of episode 5 was when I really felt myself like starting to get invested in like what's actually going on emotionally at the center of the show. And then kind of like the show itself says, it's just like I didn't make that happen when like the doorbell rings so that she can stop the outside stuff from coming in. Like I don't know, like that's the stuff that's interesting to me. And I don't know. So I think I don't know, is there anything else you want to say about episode 5 in particular, or do you want to go ahead and move on to 6?
Well, I will say, like, so I totally get the stuff in the real world not really like working for you, and you don't really like it. I think one of the biggest problems with that stuff is that it lacks a lot of style. Like, there's not much like for a show where every week we're going into like a sitcom with all this, really like in your face style and like creative vision and all that stuff. And then for us to be sucked into like the real world and it's like not, it's all these people just walking around like in a facility and talking about stuff. Like those scenes kind of take you out of the experience because they're not directed with a lot of energy or like creativity or anything. However, I think in episode 5, well, that's actually why like episode 4 didn't really work for me because that was all the episode was just taking place in that facility where they were trying to figure out what was going on, and it just lacked a lot of style. But in episode 5, I think it worked a lot better because you had it interspliced with the sitcom stuff, and like things would happen in Westview and then they would analyze them back in the real world in that facility, and then they would just go back and forth. So I still don't love the stuff that happens in the real world, like outside of Westview, but I think having it mixed in with what's going on in the sitcom world is pretty interesting, and it makes it a little more fun to watch. But yeah, that's kind of the only thing or the last thing I have to say about episode 5. I did think it was a good episode.
Yeah, it's just that thing where like we talked about it, like episode 4 was just a big info dump. And that's what I feel like every time we go back to the like the real world stuff. It's just like, and now it's time for the 2-3 minute info dump about what's going on the outside. Let's take a quick break from the stuff you're actually finding like interesting and that's entertaining. And it's just like, oh, and it's just also the thing like, I don't really care about anyone outside of the WandaVision world, honestly. Like, I like Jimmy Woo, actor as well. Like he's been in a lot of stuff that I really like seeing him. And I like seeing Randall Park. I think it's Randall Park. But like getting more, like, just getting some more work. Like I like seeing that guy around, and I like seeing him get his, and like, he was just like a funny character in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And I like to see him like being brought into like, oh, okay, so this guy's going to kind of stick around for a while. That's cool. I'm down with that.
Yeah, totally.
I don't really have much feelings on Darcy. I think she does get a little too much flack. Like, I think she's fine. I like Kat Dennings. Like, and she's decent. Like, she's fine. I don't have any, like, overarching problems like some people do. And just, like, it's also comes down to the thing where just, like, I know me and you, like, we aren't the biggest Captain Marvel fans, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, when they brought in Rambeau, I'm just still like, yeah, I don't really... Like, I still don't know what her character is. Really, like I don't feel like she's been defined in any real way, except like she knew Captain Marvel, so she's here now, and she was like a secret agent. And I was like, okay, anything about her at all? Well, she had a mother. Oh, cool. All right, does she like anything? Nah. Okay, I guess we'll just go with that. I just like I wish I could get. I want something from that side of the show because we had a whole episode on it. We're like maybe like 20-30% of the show takes place in that area, and I would like something to latch onto there instead of just like we're Shield 2.0 and we're just like, we're business people and we gotta stop this and yada yada, so on and so forth. And I was just like a little more time was spent making sure that stuff was like finely tuned instead of just like being there.
I think also a big part of why that stuff doesn't work as well is because those like three characters, like Rambo, Jimmy Woo, and Darcy, they're so like expositional in the show.
Yeah.
Like they don't serve much of a purpose beyond just like explaining to the audience what's going on. Like they don't have that much charisma and like personality, and so it just kind of takes you out of it.
Yeah, I agree. So I think that's all episode 5. We did our little wrap up from there. And then episode 6, which I had a lot of fun with. I thought it was pretty solid. I mean, dude, I tell you what, I was a big Malcolm in the Middle kid growing up, and seeing that was the show they were emulating this time around, I was like, wait, they're doing Malcolm in the Middle? Let's go. I was ready. I was all in. The second like that theme started playing and everything, I was like, oh my gosh, this is great.
I love the intro. I thought that was hilarious. The way they're recreating all the decades and like the sitcoms, that's like one of the funniest things about the show. The way they're able to like change the intro and like with all the camera angles and the cuts and stuff, like the way they are able to do that, it like adds this comedic edge to it. It's so fun to watch.
For sure. And just seeing them like lift that format too, or like what are the names? Tommy and Billy, I think.
I think so, yeah.
But like seeing one of them just like do the whole like, I'm gonna talk to the camera and like do the Malcolm in the Middle thing, I was like, they're doing the Malcolm in the Middle thing. Oh my gosh, this is great.
Okay, so I didn't watch Malcolm in the Middle back in the day. Was it 90s or like early 2000s?
It's kind of in that middle where it premiered, I think, late 90s, like maybe 98, 99.
Okay.
But mostly ran during the 2000s.
That makes sense, yeah.
At least I'll do a quick IMDb check just to make sure. But I'm pretty sure it premieres around that time. So Malcolm Middle, okay, so it premiered 2000 and ended 2006. So like pretty much that whole 2000s kind of era.
Interesting. So we basically skipped the 90s in the sitcom decade thing.
For sure. I mean, I would have loved to have seen a little Friends. Like,
yeah.
That would have been interesting. See, I'm excited what what'll the next one be? Because I feel like the one thing, I don't think it would work, but I would love to see them try to do like an Office or Parks and Rec like style thing, since that was such a huge thing this past decade, is that style of show with like Modern Family and then Brooklyn Nine-Nine kind of doing like a similar thing. So I'm interested to see what they do for the next one. Even like what the next one's going to be, since now
I wouldn't be surprised if it would.
And it's just especially like
I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Okay. Sorry, I think there's a delay. That's why we're
for sure.
Like
You're
cutting in and out.
Go for it.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if they do like Modern Family, because isn't that on ABC? So like Disney owns it, so they'll probably like emulate their own show.
Probably. I mean, that would make sense. Yeah, it's especially, I don't know what the show's like gonna look like next week, because now like we've added a lot more new characters to the mix now, since like there's the big like thing at the end where like it's Eastview, right? Or is it Westview? I know that's dumb.
I think it's
Westview. Okay. But like the way that it's expanded now, which is interesting. Like I like how that was a nice little touch that like they turned all the tents and everything, and like now it's a circus over there. Like that's fun. I thought that was pretty smart.
Yeah, that was funny to see them do that.
That's pretty cool. But yeah, it's yeah. So maybe we get down to like kind of more of the plotty stuff. So this is more of the episode where like, you know, Pietro, we get to like dive into kind of like the trauma that she's been dealing with. That's kind of fun. I like the decision with the Evan Peters stuff, just because like I kind of like how, from Wanda's perspective, it's her trying to not see her actual brother, but like kind of have the ideal kind of just like, I have a brother and he's like Uncle Peter, or like something like that. Like that's kind of a fun little thing.
Yeah.
I liked seeing kind of the, like, you know, the little Easter eggs, because like isn't one of the boys like kind of dressed like Gambit a little bit? I thought that was kind of fun.
Oh, yeah. I thought one of them was. I thought that's what they were doing, or like they
Yeah,
were tributing some Marvel character with that, but
yeah,
I didn't know who it was.
yeah. Um, dude, R.I.P. Gambit movie starring Channing Tatum.
They were talking about that for like 10 years or something,
10 years.
and then they just scrapped it.
I would have liked to see it. I was
Yeah,
excited. I love me some Channing. That was post Magic Mike too, and everything. I was all high on the Channing Tatum train, and like they just
yeah.
took Channing Tatum Gambit away from me. But it's
Oh.
okay. I'll survive. Um, but yeah, it's I don't know. It's another one of the things. Like I feel like I'm saying the same things over and over each week, but it's like almost there for me. It's almost there. It's
Yeah,
like doing enough interesting stuff to like keep me hooked and like keep me watching, but I just like it's not giving me that like I said, like the thing that like everyone else is having where they're just like freaking out about this show, which I wish I could
yeah, totally.
have.
I do like in this one particularly the stuff that's going on with Vision. Um, I thought that was a great scene when he walks down to like the edge of the town, I guess, and
Mhm.
there's that one shot with that lady who's like putting up decorations and she's just like doing that the whole
Mhm.
time, going back and forth. That's kind of where like the Twilight Zone edge
Mhm.
kind of comes back, which I liked in the first couple episodes. Yeah, and it's like kind of creepy, like watching him
Yeah.
just see those people do that.
Especially considering that like so now we kind of know that Wanda is really only controlling or like making stuff happen when Wanda or Vision is in the room. Like everything else outside of that is just like the person's just like sitting there doing nothing. Just
Yeah,
like very freaky. Um which one of our buddies, Dylan, friend of the show, past and future guest, I love the take that he had originally where he thinks that this is more of a horror show than it is like a comedy or a superhero show, which I think the more the show progresses, like that turning out to be more and more true.
yeah,
Because I
that
feel like
definitely has like horror in it.
because like the sixth one, this one was like a little creepier, and I kind of dug that. Um,
Uh-huh.
good stuff for like a Halloween special, which was interesting. That's the thing that they went with, especially on
Yeah.
this Valentine's Day weekend. It's pretty funny. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I thought this was a pretty fun one. I'd probably rank it like if I'm ranking the episodes we've seen so far, like I probably put it a little higher.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I agree. Like I think the stuff with Vision is fun, like him kind of playing detective. The conversation he has with Agnes when she's sitting in her car is like really interesting and like kind of the more glimpse we get into like what Wanda's actually doing to these people's minds is like pretty messed up, and I dig that.
Yeah.
Just because
Hmm.
I don't know it. You go back to like Civil War, and they talk about like she's kind of dangerous. Like maybe we need to like keep an eye on her, like what's going on with her, like make sure she's okay. And now really seeing like the potential, like oh, she can do some pretty messed up shit if like she just like one day decides to just like kind of go crazy, which is kind of what she's doing right now.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I like the like little conversations that she has with Quicksilver so that we can kind of like get a little more of like what's going on inside of her head. Um
I was gonna say that's like that might be like the best like dramatic moment in this episode because how she says something like she says like I oh yeah, she talks about how like she felt like nothingness
mhm,
before they went into Westview and like how she just had no one because you think about it, she lost her brother and then she lost the love of her life, so
mhm,
clearly Wanda has had a lot of trauma and
mhm,
is she obviously plays a big role in this. We don't know if she's
mhm,
controlling everything, but she likes living in this ideal
for sure.
sitcom life. And so, I mean, in that way, she has a very understandable motivation. So,
Yeah,
I mean, what she's doing is like not okay.
for
And
sure.
if she's like throwing all these people into this world and just controlling their lives and ripping them out of
Mhm,
society, then that's pretty messed up. But I mean,
mhm.
art wants what it wants, I guess.
No, for sure. See what I need to see and what I need Hawkeye in the show very soon because I feel
Ah,
like I feel like that's gonna probably be the thing. Is like Hawkeye comes in because Hawkeye Endgame, Hawkeye specifically, kind of in a very similar position as Wanda is in now. They have obviously had their nice little moment towards the end of Endgame where like she talks about how she lost Vision and Quicksilver, and like Jeremy Renner's like comforting her by the lake after the Tony Stark funeral and everything like that. But like, he is in a place where he lost his wife, his children. He's just been going around like he went on a murderous rampage for like 5 years. And I don't know, like I feel like that's a good like little connective tissue. Like you got to bring in Renner to like talk down Wanda, but then again, I don't know. We'll see. But I feel
I
like
keep
that.
thinking Doctor going to show up in some capacity because if
Yeah,
they're setting up Multiverse of Madness, or like if they bring in some huge Marvel character, I feel like it'd be someone like that.
probably makes sense. But I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like Wanda and I'm blanking on his name. I don't want to just keep calling him Hawkeye. Clint.
Clint Barton,
Yeah, so,
right?
yeah, Clint Barton. There are too many people in this thing now, and it's a little too early for me. I guess I don't know. But yeah, like I would like to see that because I feel like their relationship has always been kind of like something special in this universe. Like I love seeing those two together. Like their stuff
Age
is
of Ultron, you get.
yeah, like that was one of the best moments in Age of Ultron for me. Is like those two together.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they do some stuff in Civil War together. Endgame, they have some stuff they do together. So like that's what I would like to see personally. Is like maybe Hawkeye comes in and like he has his whole like little spiel about like we actually get to see a little more of like or hear a little bit more about what happened during the whole Ronin era. I think would be nice.
Yeah,
Because that stuff's pretty interesting to me.
that's the
So
most badass that Hawkeye's ever been.
100%.
So,
So I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just speculating, but I would imagine something like that's happening. Like somebody from the outside world and like one of the big Avengers is gonna have to step in and be like, okay, guys, don't worry, I got this. We'll be okay. Because I don't know, it's getting pretty out of hand, I would say. Probably.
it's crazy, yeah. Especially with the ending, how um, she just like expands all of Westview, and it gets so much bigger than it was before. So
Yeah.
maybe I mean, I don't. We'll have to see how it plays out, but it could be a case where Vision tries to get out again, and then she just keeps expanding the reality, and like it eats up like half the world or something. So
Yeah,
that has to stop before it gets too crazy.
for sure. Which I think is interesting that like Vision is now kind of like this prisoner of this world. Like he's not even like he's not even having really that good of a time anymore. Like just like hanging out the house or anything. Like he's like, get me out of here. These people are like imprisoned. You need to stop her. Like it's all, and I'd love to see what happens as far as like does Wanda wipe his mind again or something like that? Like what does Wanda do moving forward now that she knows that like Vision tried to get out? I think that's kind of interesting and seeing
Yeah,
what that would be next episode probably. So we got 3 episodes left, I think.
there's 9, so this is 7, 8, 9.
Cool. All right. So interested to see where the next 3 go with it. But yeah, I think it's looking a lot more promising than it was like week 4. Week 4, I was like really just like this show has to do something to like get me back because like they're losing me. I know it seems like they're going a good direction. Like I kind of feel I felt the same way Mandalorian season 1 where it was just like I'm not really feeling this. It's just not grabbing me. And like when it started wrapping up, I was finally like, oh, okay, I dig this. Yeah, this is great. So yeah, I'm hoping that these last 3 episodes end strong, and then we'll go right into Falcon Winter Soldier, which I'm really excited about.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
For me, what's keeping me interested in it is what's really going on in Wanda's head, like her psyche behind all this, and Vision trying to get out, trying to uncover what's really going on. A lot of that stuff's interesting. The stuff outside of Westview isn't really grabbing me at all, but just watching these two characters and actually learning about these two characters a lot more than we have before, and also seeing like 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 the effect of all this trauma that Wanda's experienced on her and how it's making her do some bad things. I think that kind of adds a lot of dimension to her character. So, I mean, there's a lot of great ideas in the show. It's just the way they're coming together sometimes doesn't always work. But I
Yeah.
feel like they're on a really good road right now, and I do want to see how it ends up.
No, for sure. I mean, it's kind of always the problem I've had with TV, where it's just like sometimes it just feels like the wheels are spinning and nothing's really happening.
Hmm.
Um, Especially these days where there's like 50 television shows dropping at any one time. And it's just like, can we stop for like 2 seconds, please? Like I need to take a breath for a second. So yeah, it's I do want to touch real quick on the like discussion that Wanda and Pietro have, like when they're like at the big like Halloween festival or whatever at the center of town. Like I think um I love the discussion they have, like how she asked Pietro like what happened to your accent, and he's like what happened to yours, just like showing how she's really trying to mask up her past and pretty much everything that comes with it. It's just trying to get really everything um out of her mind. Like even like when Pietro mentions like their mother and father, I was like, is that gonna set her off right now? Is like that gonna cause like, and like when she was like, yeah, they would, I was like, okay. All right, so nothing bad is gonna happen. Okay, great. Because it feels like um like the show's on a knife's edge and like it could go wrong any second. So yeah, I
I
don't know.
do. I have some questions about Quicksilver. Like, I don't really know. Like, did Wanda put him there? Like, is that how he got there, or because he asked her those questions like, "How'd you do all this? How'd you make all this happen?" and stuff. And it seems like if Wanda was in control of him, he wouldn't be, asking that stuff. So I don't really know how he got there, or like what his goal is really.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's also that thing where she could have just like, but then again, there's the whole X-Men stuff. So I don't know. I mean, it could be just like there was a kid in Westview who had like white hair, and so like you're gonna be Pietro for like a couple episodes. So I don't know. But since it's like the Quicksilver from the Fox universe, like I don't know. I mean, it could be that she like went into the multiverse for like 2 seconds. It's just like plucked him out and like you're gonna be my new brother. So like have fun with that. It's gonna be a good time. Um, so yeah, man, it's weird. I don't know. There's a lot of questions still hanging in the air. But I'm sure we'll get like answers in the next 3 episodes or in whatever movie that this is setting up or like whatever it's gonna be. Which I don't know. Like I said, I'm still just kind of trying to feel my way through this and like get to the end and like maybe try to form some full opinion on what the show is. So we'll see. Anything else you want to say, Fletch?
Um, Not really. I think we covered most everything. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ideas that are working for me in the show, and I think some of the character dynamics, specifically like with Wanda and Vision, and now Pietro, I think there's some interesting stuff there. But yeah, I feel like the show is going down a good path, and it's very unpredictable. Also, like I really don't know where
Mm-hmm.
the hell they're gonna go and how. I don't really know how this stuff ends either. Like how
Mm-hmm.
Wanda gets swayed back into giving all this up and like not
Mm-hmm.
doing this. So I don't know. I mean, I like the direction they're going in, and I'm excited to see the next few.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if that's all you got to say, uh, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Fletch, again for being on this week. Love having you.
Thanks
Always a
for having
pleasure. Absolutely. We'll be back next week for episode 7. Very excited. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the Few Good Movies YouTube channel, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. Fletch, you want to do some plugs real quick?
Yeah, so I got a YouTube channel of my own where I talk about everything movies, video games, TV, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to check that out, that's at youtube.com/Fletcher Williams. I'm sure Brennan will put a link for that in the description of this video. Tomorrow I'm going to be reviewing Judas and the Black Messiah, new movie on HBO Max. Really excited to talk about it. So yeah, if you want to find me over there, you can go to youtube.com/Fletcher Williams.
That's right. We'll have all those links down in the description and our links for our Instagram and Twitter as well down there. Make sure you click those, follow us, all that good stuff. And we will see you guys next week.